Prime Minister Allen Chastanet, in keeping with COVID-19 protocols, is currently at home in quarantine following a trip to the U.S. to meet cruise line executives. In an interview with NTN via the Zoom platform on Saturday, May 15, 2021, he fielded questions about the extension of the pandemic-related state of emergency to October 2021 against the backdrop of a pending election. Chastanet, who insists that there is nothing sinister at play, drew a correlation between the COVID-19 case count and vaccination rates being factored into his decision to announce a poll date and election protocols.
If in fact we don't need the state of the emergency, all we have to do is to put an order in the Gazette. The Governor General is able to do that on the advice of the Prime Minister. So there is no big concern here. People are reading way too much into it. Oh, because I put it to October, it means that we're going to have elections in October. That could be. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I've indicated repetitively that the date of the election is going to be predicated on the access to vaccines. If I think that we can get vaccines and get to herd immunity, then I think for the sake of the population of this country, it's worth it to wait. If in fact we're not going to get the vaccines, then that's something that I would have to then give consideration to, because it means we would have elections without herd immunity, and we'll go from there.
During the interview, the Prime Minister was asked to elaborate on his concerns regarding the pandemic and the hosting of elections.
What is your fear? Is your fear that if the elections were to be held during this time without having achieved that herd immunity, that we may very well fall to the sort of escalated cases that we saw following Christmas? And of course, it would be at a larger scale. Is that your fear?
That is absolutely my fear, and there's certainly substantial proof globally about that. We saw what happened after the elections in Jamaica, elections in Trinidad. You have just recently India. I mean, the spike that's taking place after they had beaten it down is being attributed to the elections. We've seen where we've had political meetings, large numbers of people gathering together, and we've seen what's happened afterwards. So we know that once that bell is rung, that people are going to want to express their democratic rights, and I understand that. And we have to make sure that we're protecting the people as much as possible. Once we've achieved that, or if we cannot achieve that, then the next thing is to determine what the protocols would be during the election period. And I know that the CMO and the Commissioner of Police, as well as the Electoral Commission, have already been working on what those protocols are going to be based on what the current situation is.
The Prime Minister's comments evoked a visceral reaction from critics who have accused the government leader of using the pandemic as a pretext to subvert the democratic process. But NTN's Lisa Joseph, who phoned into the hit Radio 100 mid-morning show Out Goes In, suggests that the Prime Minister's remarks may not have been fully contextualized.
I did not call to be a spokesperson on behalf of the Prime Minister. Since we had conducted the interview with the Prime Minister, I had, to have some, insight, because I did, when the Prime Minister along those lines made the comment, we went a step further. And I did say to him, what are exactly his fears in that regard? And so that's the very, very narrow the little snippet there of what that conversation was about. And so the Prime Minister went on to elaborate exactly what his fears would have been. And I think, Andre, that we can all understand that if we're thinking rationally. We know that for election time for St. Lucia, it's all about people getting out there. It's about the rallies. It's about being able to do your motorcades, being able to do your community meetings and so forth. So that really means people need to get out and people need to be around each other. And so it is an absolute real fear that is out there when you think about the election process. How are we going to do that electioneering?
June 6th will mark the 5th anniversary of the 2016 general election. According to the Constitution, the poll is constitutionally due no later than 3 months after the 5 years of the first sitting of Parliament, which was held on July 12, 2016. So the deadline is October 12, 2021. Parliament will be dissolved automatically on July 12, 2021, but can be reconvened in case of an emergency. It should be noted that a long list of democratically elected governments in the Caribbean and the world have conducted elections despite the pandemic, and to date, no government in the history of St. Lucia has gone the entire distance permitted under the Constitution regarding elections. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.